Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting, fun-filled, expeditious episode of Radio Rama, where as the name implies, excuse me, I show you how to work on radios, but sometimes other things. Like you never know, it might be a record player, a stereo, a tape player. But today it's definitely a radio, and what we have here is a General Electric. It is a 1940 model J-69 AM with shortwave, said to be operating, but I'm not sure how old that label is. Maybe it was working 20 or 30 years ago, but now I don't know. And I'm not going to plug it in because the cord is disintegrating. It's got a power transformer, which I like, and it has a pre-existing input for a phonograph. Actually, it has got something on here that I see a lot on pre-World War II radios. When I say pre-World War II, I know that World War II started a lot earlier for some of our folks across the pond. So this is pre-1941, and it has this feature in it which says phono, FM, or television. Because right before the outbreak of World War II for the U.S., FM and television were, if the war hadn't happened, they probably would have been released during the 40s. And the thought, I believe, and I cannot know if this can be confirmed or not, but you'll see a lot of radios, especially consoles, that'll have an input that says television. I think the idea is that you could probably, the plan might have been to sell a television receiver, but no built-in audio. You'd have to run a line from the TV to your radio to get your sound. And after the war, of course, that didn't happen. We had basically televisions with their own sound on the FM spectrum. So this never really happened. And in the back it'll has a little RCA plug that says television or FM. I've worked on this model years ago. I have one myself, and it's probably been at least 15 years since I've worked on one, and my recollection is that it has a lot of the awful rubber wiring insulation from this time period, and it's real crumbly. But then again, that was 15 years ago. And, you know, when you work on this stuff enough, and eventually what used to be difficult and annoying can become a little more bearable. So I'm not going to plug it in. There's no sense in doing that, because if it's got a short in the cord, that could cause a lot of damage, including damage to myself and my house. But I am going to take the chassis out. I'm going to take a look and see what has or has not been done to it. I'm going to get a feeling. If anything's been done, probably someone replaced the filter caps and not much else. Because, 30, 40 years ago, no one ever replaced the paper caps. They're like, just replace the electrolytics, call it a day. Okay, so here is the innards. It's appears to be single-ended output with a 6Y6, which is that weird bulb up there, tube, rather. And that electrolytic looks like a replacement, that silver thing. So I think it has been worked on, definitely. And you see here we have this label here. It says phono, television, frequency modulation. And so you'd plug in either your record player or your television or your FM converter. I'm seeing some cloth-covered wire here. So I'm hoping maybe this was made slightly earlier and maybe it doesn't have any rotten rubber wiring in it. But we'll see. Anyway, I need to disconnect the rest of this stuff here. There's a loop antenna in the top. That's probably for shortwave. Then we'll disconnect the speaker. And then we're going to pull the bolts in the bottom and take this out and see what the underside looks like. Alright, so I pulled the chassis out, and my memory was correct. This is not an easy chassis to work on, because you see here, this is the underside of that electrolytic. And all the wiring going to it is ancient, brittle, rubber-coated wire, and that insulation will shatter as soon as I move it. And it looks like I'm going to have to pull this guy out in order to get to some of the wiring. I'm trying to remember. I think got a long cable here and one there. I should be able to like move it just enough so I can get to that wire wherever it terminates. So not exactly the most fun thing in the world to work on, But this is when you kind of take it easy, take your time, and do it right. There's a bunch of paper caps in here. That's a replacement. That's probably from the 50s. And again, I do think this electrolytic here has been replaced. I don't think that's original. But let's see what values are in it. It says 10, 15, 30. All right, well, and what shapes we have here? We have 10 is unmarked, 15 is triangle, 30 is square. And there's little embossed shapes underneath here that lets you know which one is which. Let's see. You see how there's a triangle? It's kind of embossed, or not embossed, but extruded out on this one leg, and then this is square, and that's unmarked. So you just match up each replacement electrolytic with said value. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I did replace all the electrolytics and the wiring that was going to each one. And I've got a new cord solder in here. So I'm going to bring it up slowly on the Variac and see if it's got life. Alright, now it's time to test the set out. And what I'm going to do is run it through my Variac with a meter on it to see how much it's drawing. Let's see. So far it doesn't seem to be drawing anything. I wonder if I'd actually turned it on or not. Let's get to about 50 volts. It's not drawing anything. Maybe the switch on it's messed up. Let me look at the front. I can't remember how to turn this thing on. Let's see. Off, base, normal. Could very well be that that switch is sort of wonky. Might need to clean it. Anyway, let me just do that. Oh, there's no juice coming out of the power cord, so either there is a short in the power cord or a short in the plug. I'm going to cut the plug off and put the replacement plug that was on this guy. Okay, so I got a new plug installed on this guy. So do the same thing. See if it's going to start drawing anything this time. There, now it's drawing. You can see the needle's moving up a little bit. Put it up about 50% or thereabouts. Okay, it's not drawing that much current. That's good. That's what we want. So now that I'm satisfied nothing crazy is going to happen, let's go ahead and give it a little more power. I can see we've got pilot lights glowing. And I don't know what band I'm on. Not really getting anything out of the speaker. So let me cut power. This is odd. Alright, let's try this again. I really wasn't getting anything out of that radio. And since we're not really drawing much, I'm not too worried about it. Let's give it full power. I'm basically getting nothing. There's no reception. No, nothing. Well, isn't that a pickle? Makes me wonder if maybe one of the tubes is bad. Alright, well first of all, I've got no B+ on 2 of the 3 electrolytics. And so I'm not sure what that's all about, but that's not a good sign. It's not a healthy sign whatsoever. So I need to look in the schematic and see where B+ is injected here. You know, it helps when you remember to solder one of your main leads back together. So no B+, because this lead, I forgot to solder it in. It wound up tucking itself under there and I just didn't see it. So that needs to go here. and then probably that'll restore B+. I was like, something is horrifically wrong here. All right, now that we have all of our stuff where it should be, let's see if it'll do anything different this time. That sounds more promising. Dang, these controls are filthy. Let's see if I can get... Damn it. Things are missing all their little... Alright. Well, I'm at the... Oh, wait, here we go. Is that something? Yeah, the controls are dirty. Let me clean those up a little bit. Alright, so I've got it all hooked up and I cleaned up the contacts a little bit more. Working pretty good now.
In 1986, and his win ends a 34-match Wimbledon winning streak for Djokovic.
Alright, so we're firing on all cylinders. Good. So the hard part's over. Radio works. The rest of it's just boring, recapping, and cleaning and stuff. Alright, now it's time to start cleaning up stuff. What I do is I take a soft paintbrush and try to get the loose stuff off the top of the chassis. And then I get my leaf blower. That blows all the loose stuff off. Same with the inside of the cabinet. There. So, let me get some Windex and some paper towels and clean that up a little bit better. Then we're going to start working on the cabinet. It needs a little love too. Okay, now it's time to do what I always do, which is slather the cabinet with Old English furniture stuff. There was someone from England telling me they had to pay like 20 pounds for this stuff. I was like, Jesus, around here it's like $4 or $5. Anyway, there's probably something that's very similar no matter where you live. It doesn't have to be Old English. That's just an American brand. But you see how much of an improvement that makes in the finish. It just kind of removes a lot of the discoloration, the abrasions, and the wear marks. Alright, well, got a pretty nasty rip in the grill cloth here, so I need to replace that. So I'm going to pull this out so I can get to it. And then I'm going to pull the glass off so I can clean it a little bit better. I think to get this out of here I need to remove these screws there and then these screws here. That's just my guess anyway. Okay, so next thing, I tore the old grill cloth out and I cut a new piece. I'm using iron to iron it flat. I'm not very good at ironing, but if you don't do this you'll have wrinkles and it won't look nice. So, is this on? Maybe it's not warmed up enough yet. Anyway, yeah, you need to, there it is. It's now steaming. Sometimes you have to go a little more. You don't want to burn it though. I've definitely done that before. So now we can attach it to the cardboard form that came out of there, and that should fit back in there nicely. All right, so I cleaned up the chassis, and now I'm going to lubricate the bearings for the tuning condenser. I'm using some Zoom spout oil. It's a very fine oil. And then I'm going to, just touch up the little pulleys here. What I want is everything just to move really nice and smoothly. Yeah, that already feels like 10,000 times better. And then what I'll also do is I'll just, get a little bit on my fingers, just like this, and kind of go over where the dial indicator goes, and that way it just glides a little bit easier. Anyway, little things like that all add up to a nicer experience for the user. Okay, so now that I've gotten everything unassembled, I'm going to work a little bit more in this case. Definitely want to clean up around, you know, this grill here area. So I'm gonna get some more Old English and do another pass on it. Okay, so I have done a little more details on this, but now what I'm gonna do is use car wax and this buffer to wax up the case and bring back that shine, because these were pretty shiny from the factory. So we're going to try to make it look more like that. Okay, so this is after about 3 passes with both the buffer. They even got some plastic polish to kind of get down some of the rough areas. It's looking a lot better. And so now what I need to do is glue in the grill cloth and put the glass back in, and I believe cosmetically the set will be done. Alright, so we got the new grill cloth in and the glass is back in. It's actually a pretty sharp looking radio, I must say. I like the different colorations of wood. So when it's back together, it's going to be a neat radio. Okay, so all the little paper capacitors have been replaced, at least for the underside. I believe there's a few up top, and we'll get those, and we're going to test the radio, make sure it still works. Alright, so I have run audio input through the phono connector. And you do not want to do this on a set that is a hot chassis. This has a power transformer, so we've got electrical isolation. But I've got my Bluetooth running through it. It's not bad. Still got some dirt in the volume control there, so I need to take care of that. There's also a... Never mind. I'm talking to myself. I'm going to see what's going on with the original speaker. The original speaker's making some funny noises. And so I'm going to see if it's a physical problem I can fix. Otherwise, I'm going to replace it with that speaker, which is the same size. All right, I found out what was going wrong with the speaker. There's a tiny little rip right here. So I put some Lexel glue on it. So we're doing good there. Again, I need to clean the volume pot, but we do seem to be firing on all cylinders. So let me clean up my mess a little bit. I want to clean up that volume pot. I want to do a few little odds and ends before I think about putting it back in the cabinet. All right, she is working good. Let's put it onto broadcast.
Sites to collect data.
There we go.
The practice is 45 point. Wow. So, they scare me because it's Vrabel. Because it is Diop. I think he has some really good football left in him. Mm-hmm. But it's still Jacksonville with...
Your alternates to the Altamont Pass would be... Hour of rain delay. Now, really, I think...
Of crisis...
That is the phono television selector, so I can turn the Bluetooth on. Anyway, it's sounds working good. It really turned out quite nice, I think. Here's the back. So it's a good, healthy radio, and I'm going to let it play here for a few hours to make sure nothing's going to break down thermally. I'm going to call it done. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can ask them down below. Until the next time radio crawls, of course, across my workbench. I'll see you guys next time.